Hey, 6th grade. This is Lesson 5, Day 5, and this is your independent practice. This is also going to be a review for your quiz. So, here's what you're going to be doing here. First off, you need to have your book on page 46, and you should have a calculator with you. Okay, if you don't have those things, go get them. In a second, you're going to be working on both of these pages. You're going to do all 5 problems on your own. So you've got 1 through 3 on page 46, and you've got 4 and 5 on page 47. Now, as you come across them, any strategy, draw a picture, ratio tables, anything at all that helps you, I want you to do. If you aren't sure, you give it your best shot, because then when you go over it, you'll learn from it more that way. If you're wrong, so what? As long as you correct your mistakes. All right, so pause the video. Do 1 through 5 on page 46 and 47 on your own. Restart this video when you're done. Go. All right, so let's see how you did. I'm going to start by going over number 1, and I want to see what you did to solve it. So number 1 says, let me get my pointer ready. Jason's father bought a computer for $800. He made equal payments of $25 of the total cost. How much was each payment? So in other words, how much is 25% of that? So I'm going to kind of do a ratio or percent table here. So I'm going to draw a rectangle here. I'm going to split it into 4 pieces. And the reason I'm splitting it into 4 pieces is because that's quarters. That's 25%. So I have 0%, 25%, 50%, 75%, and 100%. Now, if you split $800 into 4 equal pieces, that's 800 divided into 4 pieces, you get 200. So each one of those 25% pieces is 200. So when it says how much was each payment was $200 C. And you can check it because if you add up those 4 200s, they will add up to the total $800 for the computer. All right, so if you had that one right, good, give yourself a C. If you had it wrong, remember, pause the video. You can make corrections and try to learn from it. All right, number 2. Antonio has read 147 pages of the book. All right, so he's already read that. He has completed 70% of the book. Okay, so think about that. That just means these 147 pages are 70% of the book. How many more pages does he need to read to finish the book? All right, so he read 147. That's 70%. We have to figure out the number of pages he has left to finish. Okay, so let's split this up. Let me think how I'm going to do this. All right, I'm going to do a table very similar to what I did in number 1, except because the percent is 70, that's a counting by 10 number, I'm going to split up my bar into 10 sections. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm going to do 0%. This is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Now, it says he read 147 pages. So right here, that 147 pages he read, which the top will be pages, I'll label that, is 70%. So that means I'm going to put a red box around here. Everything in this red box he read. And that's 147 pages. So what we need to answer is what he still has to read. And that's going to be everything in this green box he has left to read. Okay? So now, how are we going to figure out what he has left to read? Well, let's zoom in on the red box for a second. Remember, that's 147 pages. And how many sections is it? If you notice, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split that 147 pages into 7 sections. And 147 divided by 7 is 21. So that means each one of these, every 10% is 21 pages. And I can check that by doing 21 times 7, and you'll get 147. Now, how is that going to help me answer my question? Well, remember the green box is what he has left to read. And there's still 10% sections, so each one of those is still going to be 21. So that means Antonio has 21 plus 21 plus 21 pages left to read. Or you could just do 21 times 3. Sorry, I just bumped the home button. And that will give you your answer of 63 pages. Okay, so if you had 63 pages for that one, give yourself a C. That one's a tricky one. Remember, you can rewatch any of these problems on the video to see if you got it correct. All right, so let's go down to number 3. All right, number 3 says, during the basketball season, Corey made 21 of the 60 baskets she attempted, Krista made 16 of the 40 baskets she attempted, and Paula made 17 of the 50 baskets she attempted. Write the names of the players in order from least percentage of baskets made to greatest percentage. All right, so we just need to figure out the percentage of baskets they made. So I'm going to kind of get this organized here. I'm going to start with Corey. So Corey made 21 of the 60 baskets she attempted. So for this, I'm going to set up a little table. So the top of the table is going to be the baskets, and the bottom is going to be the percent. I'm sorry, not the percent. The bottom is going to be the total baskets. So in this one, it says Corey made 21 of 60 baskets. So she made 21 out of 60 baskets. Now, we need to figure out the percent. So remember, percent is going to be the ratio when it's out of 100. So how do we get that? Well, first thing I could do is I can find an equivalent ratio. So what I'm going to do here is I notice if I divide each of these by 3, 21 divided by 3 and 60 divided by 3, I'll get a nice equivalent ratio out of 20. So 21 divided by 3 is 7, and 60 divided by 3 is 20. Now, I can take that down to 10% or another percent, but here's the cool thing. To go from 20 to 100, I multiply by 5. To go from 7 to my answer, I also multiply by 5. So, what's 7 times 5? It's 35. So 35 out of 100 means Corey made 35%. Okay, so she made 35% of her basket. So let's go on to Krista. So Krista, I'm going to do another ratio table here. All right, so the top are going to be the ones made, and the bottom are going to be out of the total. So remember, again, I need to figure out what it is out of 100 baskets. That's the key to getting the percent. So it says Krista made 16 of the 40 baskets. So she made 16 of 40 baskets. Now 40 doesn't go nicely into 100, but if I divide by 4, I'll get an equivalent ratio. So 16 divided by 4 is 4. 40 divided by 4 is 10. So 4 out of 10 is equivalent. And this is going to be a much easier one to do because to get the percent, all I do is 10 times 10 is 100. 4 times 10 is 40. So Krista made 40% of her baskets. Okay, so now let's go to the last person, Paula. So Paula made 17 out of 50, so I'm going to set up a third ratio table. Set it up the same way, and this is Paula. And these are the ones that were made, and these are the total baskets attempted. So she made 17 out of 50. Now remember, we need to figure out how many that is out of 100. Now in this one, I am not going to change 17/50ths to an equivalent ratio because I know 50 times 2 is 100. And 17 times 2 is 34. So that means Paula made 34 out of 100 of her baskets. In other words, Paula made 34% of her baskets. So now, remember, the question wanted us to write the names of the players in order from least percentage of baskets made to greatest percentage of baskets made. So the least would be Paula with 34%. Second would be Corey with 35%. And the highest would be Krista with 40% of her baskets made. So if you had Paula, Corey, Krista, give yourself a C. You got that one right. All right, remember, for any of these, 1, 2, and 3, you can pause and go back and make corrections or watch it again. All right, so let's go on to the next page. So on this page, we're going to do number 4 and we're going to do number 5. So in number 4, let's start with that one. It says, Jackson's mom limits the amount of time he is allowed to play video games. After Jackson plays for 9 minutes, his mom tells him he has used up 30% of his time. So let's think about that. Jackson plays for 9 minutes, and that is 30% of his time. So the 9 minutes is 30%. So this one says, how many more minutes can Jackson play before he uses all of his time? So this is a lot like the one where we're reading the book and you read 70% and had to figure out how many more pages to read. So this one's very similar. So what I'm going to set up is basically a table just like that. Okay, so I'm going to split it into 10 pieces. And each piece is 10%. So I have 0%, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So it says Jackson has, he already played for 9 minutes, and that's 30%. So if he already played for 9 minutes, so I'm going to put minutes on top, percent on bottom, right? That means each of these sections must be 3 minutes because 3 plus 3 plus 3 is 9. So these in the red box are the minutes he's used up. But the question says, how many more minutes can Jackson play before he uses up all of his time? So we basically need to figure out everything that would go in this green box I'm making right here. So if I continue with 3 minutes for each 10%, how many 3s are there? Well, there's 7 3s. And what's 7 times 3? It's 21. So Jackson can play 21 more minutes. All right. So if you had that one right, good. If not, pause it, make corrections, learn from it. Watch it again if you need to. Last one, number 5. Ashley has sold 70% of the 20 candy bars she is supposed to sell for her softball team. How many candy bars does she have left to sell? All right, so she has sold 70% of the 20 candy bars. So I'm going to label that here. Now, we have to figure out how many does she have left. Now, I'm going to show you 2 ways to go over this one. Now, the first way is to figure out 70% of 20. And then we'd have to subtract that number from 20. So let's figure out what 70% of 20 is. So remember, you write this as 70% as a fraction. 70 out of 100. Of means times. And 20 over 1. So I'm going to multiply 70 times 20. Remember, you do 7 times 2, which is 14, and add the 2 zeros. 100 times 1 is 100. And to do 1,400 divided by 100, you just get rid of the 2 zeros after the 14, which means she has sold 14 candy bars. Now, remember, that's not the answer because it says how many does she have left to sell. Well, she had 20 candy bars she's supposed to sell. If you subtract the 14 she sold, that leaves us 6. She has 6 more candy bars to sell, which is the answer. So that's one way to get it. But some of you are going to like this way better, so I want you to think. If she sold 70% of the 20, doesn't that mean she still has to sell 30% of the 20, or she has 30% left? Do you see where I got that 30 from? 70% plus 30% is 100%. So if I could just figure out the 30% of the 20 that she has left, I'll have my answer in one step. So check this out. 30% is 30 out of 100 times 20 over 1. So 30 times 20, I do 3 times 2 is 6, and add the 2 zeros. 100 times 1 is 100. So to do 600 divided by 100, remember, you just get rid of these 2 zeros, which is 6. So that's another way you can get your answer in one shot. Ashley has 6 more candy bars to sell. If you didn't understand what I just did in the red ink, then do what I did in the green ink. Remember, you can do it any way you want. Anyway, you're done with me. This was your review for your quiz, so make sure you use it to help you understand what's coming up on your quiz. As always, thanks for watching.